Hello, my friends. This is Dr. Ginny Baro, and welcome to Start the Day with Ginny. Whether you're watching this through my vlog or my YouTube channel, my LinkedIn, wherever you may be watching, I wanted to bring this to you because it is already a quarter of the year has passed. And at this point, it's a great time to do a check-in. We think that what we set out to do is just going to happen because we said we were going to do it. And what many of us have found, and the statistics are there to prove it, is that we set out with the best intentions in the world, and within weeks of those intentions, when the year began, we fall off the wagon, and whatever we were thinking about is long gone. And so I wanted to bring more intention to how we set our goals and how we set not only goals from a perspective of I'm going to check it off, but more looking at your goals from the perspective of this is something that was important to me, which is why I thought about doing it. How am I following through in the last 4 months of me setting this goal, the last 3 months of me setting this goal, or the last 6 months, depending on where you're watching this video? What's powerful about reflection and about zooming out is that zooming out is the equivalent of being a strategic thinker. When you are dealing with a problem in the office, whether it's a leadership problem, or whether it's you dealing with something with your manager as an individual contributor, zooming out, it is such a powerful tool because it gets you out of your head and it gives you a much wider, constructive, productive perspective from which to analyze the situation, especially if emotions are high and you are personally invested in the problem that's happening. When it's personal, we tend to get very prickly, right? We get prickly and we dig in our heels and we don't want to see a different perspective. So when we zoom out, which is what I call it officially, is we go zzz and pretend we are a fly on the wall looking down at the situation. And from doing that, we can say, wow, I see that there's different parties involved. I can see that each one of them has a different agenda. I can see what my agenda is in this big picture. Let me really focus on what's most important. Thinking of what's most important here, whether it is that you come up with the best solution, whether it is that you support a colleague or team member through a tough situation, whether it is that you are able to influence a key decision maker to go in a certain direction for the team, for the department, for the product, for the service, whatever the case may be. Whatever is most important to you when you zoom out is when you're able to see that. You get out of your head, you get out of your ego, which is such an important aspect of leadership, to not lead from our egos. And we can look at the big picture and really focus and hone in on what's most important. Once you can do that for yourself, then you can much easier come back down and have a constructive conversation with the parties and stakeholders and express where you're coming from having done that reflection. That will make you more influential. That will improve your communication. That will help you build relationships, which in turn helps everybody be more productive and higher performing. And at the end of the day, if we are looking to collaborate and to get the work done, it's not about me being right and you being wrong or vice versa. Let's really zoom out and look at the big picture to see what is the best solution, what is the best way forward for us as a collective. And I know this could sound naive. Some of you may say, Ginny, what planet are you living on? Do you not understand how competitive my work environment is? If I did that, I would be chopped liver. And I would say, yes, don't disregard the environment that you're in. Be self-aware and socially aware of the environment that you're in. And I would say that you always have a choice. Your choice is to decide how you're going to show up to that environment. how you want to either emulate the people's behavior, which you may consider them to be toxic, or whether you want to lead in a different way. And I would say that simply because you're being authentic and looking at the big picture and looking at what's best for the business, for the team, instead of only what's best for you, that when you show up to lead like this, people around you will absolutely notice that that is what's happening. And somewhere, someone, especially a senior leader, more senior leader, is going to notice that you're showing up differently than everyone else. And a couple of things can happen where you realize, you know what, this is not the environment for me. I'm out because I don't see any change. No matter how I show up, nothing improves. Then that is a clear clue for you to start thinking about your options. However, you may see a difference when you show up in a different way than everybody else in this competitive environment is showing up as. You may notice that they actually begin to shift the dynamic, that they actually begin to see how your approach is actually getting more results, which at the end, that's what everybody wants, than the other way that they're doing it. And they may start to emulate you. And if that's the case, that's where you are bringing the healing to the leadership. That's where you are the catalyst that is helping to improve the environment and shift it from one that may not be as productive or as collaborative to one that is. And that, my friends, is the only way that you can feel empowered to be the best leader that you can be, show up at your best, and see what happens. Otherwise, we're making assumptions that if I show up authentically, I'm going to be eaten for lunch. And that is a very disempowering feeling, but it also keeps you from being authentic and genuine. You're showing up all armored up, right? Guarded, and you're not giving them your best because you are afraid. So that's where fearlessness comes in, and courage. Showing up like this takes courage and fearlessness. Fearlessness does not mean that you are not afraid. It means you are afraid and you do it despite the fear. You act despite the fear. So let's go back to the beginning, which is, how are you doing this year? How are you embodying and integrating the goals and the practices you said you were going to do this year? Have they fallen by the wayside? Have you been on track? And if you have, congratulations. That means to me that you have been extremely intentional in following through. A big theme that underlies this conversation is consistency. And you've heard me talk about consistency before. Many of us set out to do something and we stop doing it. We stop being consistent. We do it for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, maybe 3 months, and then we stop. What happened? What was the driver that led you to stop? It's extremely important to get clear on that, because that same reason why you stopped is going to potentially stop you from doing other things in the future. So if you want to nip this in the bud and you want to be able to be consistent and reliable, which develops trust, what was it that prevented you from continuing? Let's address that factor. And then once you do, you will see how other areas in your life will most likely improve too with your consistency, because you've removed the obstacle. Now you're aware of what the obstacle is and you are willing to do something about it. And that's all that there is. How willing are we to look in the mirror and be honest with ourselves? That takes vulnerability, because then we won't have excuses for why we're not following through. And so if you are someone who is interested in continuing to evolve into your fullest potential, that self-reflection is essential and fundamental. And then asking yourself the real empowering questions around, what stopped me? What were the factors? And being honest, where they might be legitimate factors or they just may be BS that you made up, stories you created about why you stopped. And then catch yourself in your own BS and get real, right? How do I move forward from here? What is most beneficial for me in my career and in my life right now? And then commit to that, because I guarantee you that when you come to that conclusion as to what is most beneficial for me in my life and my career, you're going to now embody what that is. You're going to bring it to your work. You're going to bring it to your teams, and you're going to be a more productive person, a more efficient person, a more joyful person, someone who's more into teamwork and collaboration and to making an impact and a contribution to your workplace, instead of being selfish and in your ego and taking things personally and being someone who's very difficult to work with. How easy or how difficult are you to work with? And if you're really smart, I'm really talking with you. Because when someone is really smart, many of us are in our egos and we feel that nobody else knows this stuff like we do. And it makes it very challenging for other people to work with us. So, how are you being open to others' ideas who you may think are not as smart as you are? I know this could be a little fiery and at the same time so important, because raising our emotional intelligence and self-awareness is part of being an intelligent professional, right? If we're not self-aware of how we're showing up and how others are perceiving us and how others are experiencing us, which is part of our personal brand, then we have blind spots. And I want to help you uncover your blind spots. So if you need support in how you identify what's really meaningful and important to you for the year, especially around your career ambition to grow and advance in your role, to grow and evolve as a more senior leader, to increase your influence, to improve your communication, to improve how you collaborate and how you lead, engage, and influence your teams, I would love to connect with you. I'm always available at callwithginny.com. And as I always say, this is not a dress rehearsal. This is it. So if you are looking to make a change, if you're looking to continue to grow, I would highly recommend that you don't continue waiting, because there will never be a perfect time. This is it. Take the bull by the horns. Let's do this. Live with purpose, live with joy. I'll see you soon.